Frozen
How you
socks.
doing?
Okay.
I'm in New Jersey.
Hey,
Oh, wow.
well, thank you for joining us from New Jersey. So do we have done the roll call or? you
I
good?
just kind of recorded what I see so the only folks I have, Rob and Judith are not in.
And has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes from last?
Yeah, thanks for sending them. ahead.
No problem. I try to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would, are there any comments, corrections? Can we have a motion to?
I'd like to make a motion to accept them.
I
second.
Marilyn second.
Or did I wanted to second?
Can you
Thanks,
post it?
Marilyn.
All right, is there any discussion, further comment on this? Everybody happy?
They're lovely.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So we will approve the minutes and move on. I guess the next item here, I'm guessing this is the council presentation on the 17th.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have been asked to represent us at a city council meeting, which will be coming up in 2 weeks. On this, 2 weeks on the 7th, no, 1 week on the 17th.
Yeah, 1 week.
Yeah.
We're already getting, I was gonna be there a week late. You guys might want to keep an eye on me. And just talk about sort of what we've been up to, what we're planning to do to give a rundown on our proposal for what we want to do with our the ordinance that charters this group. And also, of course, to check in about naming the sculpture park.
And I do have an update with the sculpture park.
Yes.
I asked about that getting on the work. So we had a workspace agenda meeting and Katie Nakazone, the city clerk, was like, well, has anyone sent a letter to the Parks Commission to ask
Oh.
them if they are on board as well? And I was like, okay, we will send a letter. So she's like, I think it's just an oversight, but that blessing from them, and then when we get their blessing and our letter, and then it'll get on the work. But I think we could mention that in the presentation.
Okay.
So, and I can take the letter that Judy had written and make a few edits, and I'll send it to everybody. And if that looks good, then I'll send it to Scott Davis.
Perfect.
That shouldn't be a problem.
I think-
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you for keeping up with
We gotta
that.
convince him.
Yeah.
And I guess, is there any, like, do we need to have a conversation then about what I'm saying about all those things?
Well, and I think
Do you
that's,
have any input?
I think like first, if the explanation of why we wanted to change the mission and goals of the Arts Commission, I think just like a brief, like recently you guys decided this is kind of what we were thinking.
To bring it in sync with reality.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And then the things that you guys have done throughout the past year, like co-sponsoring.
Yeah, so it's
Baroque.
And the benefit to the city is that the city is really getting more.
Yeah,
I had come up with Burr Oak.
Piano
and,
Fest.
The Piano Fest.
do you guys, and I'm jumping in, was there any Jazz Fest or Arts Fest
We did
participation?
Poetry night.
yeah.
Okay, and then Lifetime Achievement.
In addition to any of the public art related projects.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I was thinking, we also pulled together the information about all of the public art,
Yeah.
which I'm not 100% sure.
That's online now, isn't it?
I think it's online, but I don't know.
it will, it should be, yeah, I know it's partially online, I need to get through.
So I'm going to call that a work in progress.
Yeah. And then the signage for the art is a work in progress.
And
And then there's, like future. We could kind of talk about what Alex may bring up later this meeting, like some of the,
yes. What about the mural in Ivory Crockett Park? Because we talked about that and kind of that's been our big stumbling block.
I think we
All the time.
put it aside.
But you could talk about it as a work in progress, right?
yeah.
Well, I wonder if
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
sort of say.
Maybe not
we
described as a
need some
stumbling block.
money.
Yeah.
We'll just say it's a future project.
Yeah, okay.
I think just talking about like, that's been something we've explored is ways to beautify areas of the city and bring art. And so like we've explored options for murals, one of which includes, because before that it was a train trestle and trying to, so just like
We were well
the fun-
underway.
kind of addresses the breadth of what we're trying to achieve, even if it's not.
At that time,
I like that.
could
Beautiful.
we also mention that we want to name this sculpture park?
Mhm. Yeah.
And we've sent the letter to, kind of, not as a pressure thing, but just as a lot of really filling in, because some of those people might not know when that was coming.
I mean, if you want to mention the resources piece, it has to do with the degree in which events are oftentimes privatized. This mural might be privatized. It's like, it's private money that's going into public good, right? So at the moment,
Well, the city art commission is developed as a place where other people not on the commission bring ideas to us and want to collaborate. I think our new mission mentions collaboration. Yeah, it does, outside groups, so that could be that's a new point.
Because
I mean, it's been
the
there.
point of like making these comments too is to introduce that new mission, correct? Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the preamble to say like, and now we have this.
And how much we're doing anyway, and now we're making it official.
Right.
Remind me of the name of the guy who was trying to spearhead the Ivory Crockett.
Doug, I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, so who would vote against expanding more to more projects and more things? I mean, I think we got them.
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody who's keeping their foot on the budget.
Yeah.
So it does have to be like that piece that's the private money piece of it.
And we're not the most. We're fortunate that there's always sustainability commission that wants way more money than we did. Like, like we want maybe more than some of the other ones, like maybe more than BDC, but we're not the most
Yeah,
expensive.
well, that's good.
Yeah.
Our argument
The
being
middle
that
curve.
they're worse than us.
Yeah, yeah. They're more expensive than us. Solar panels cost more than a mural.
We're more creative
Yes.
doing stuff with nothing.
Yes.
Is there anything else that anybody feels like I should bring up as part of that? Or am I missing anything?
You mentioned lifetime achievement in the art.
I did mention lifetime
Yeah.
achievement. yeah. And the poetry month.
Yeah.
I assume you only have like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
The
Pretty
less,
much- Pretty much bullet points, 27 words, 3
Yeah.
slides.
we'll do some out and I can throw some slides together and send them to you by the end of the week, make sure that they look.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because it's with the work session, sometimes the less. I think there's like 4 things in the work session. One of them is like a financial update that's inevitably going to be 25 slides and
There you go.
yeah. Like it's
Majority-
always,
We know what the majority of the meeting will be about.
That's
Yeah.
right.
it's always really important information, but sometimes I'm like, when I die, I go to hell. I'm just gonna have to listen to a PowerPoint on
Maybe this
finances
is
for eternity. Yes.
I think that's level 4.
Yeah,
That's
level
right.
4 health. It's just a PowerPoint on the latest financial information.
Right.
And it just never ends. You're like, oh my God, I don't know how many slides are about.
Little fix holding your eyes. Yeah.
My eyes glaze over.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
so if there's nothing else about that. The next thing I think then is to talk about where we are on the mission and goals of the Arts Commission. I feel like we have this pretty well nailed down from the last meeting. Does anybody have any further? comments or queries?
I can make sure that they're on the Arts Commission page. I'll add that.
Could you to council print this out and have it in front of them as you are presenting?
Yeah.
So you
Or
have the
slide of it
written-
even.
That's a really good idea.
the written piece in front of them so they can read you're presenting.
They probably read faster than.
Yeah.
Well, plus you can remember, if you're listening, sometimes it just goes straight on through.
Mhm.
Okay. So I guess at that point, there's a couple of miscellaneous updates. I actually don't know where we are on the sign.
In progress, yeah, just a matter of getting it done. But yeah, I've got the info and it's just right before Christmas. It wasn't a great time, but this month very likely reach out and say, this is the one that we want.
Okay. And did we finally get funding?
Yeah, the funding's there. That's what I was told, not to worry about it. Yeah.
Contact with them, just let me know. I'll be
Okay,
glad to
okay.
come.
And then I guess, do we need to connect with the Parks Department for the actual installation piece?
Public Works. I had emailed Todd Ray, the Director of Public Works, a long time ago to be like, right when we started talking about it, to be like, is this something you guys can do? And he was like, yeah, that's something we can do. So, yeah,
Should be good to go. Although we may have to wait until the ground thaws.
I know.
Small thing.
And your flowers made it through.
Yeah.
I was standing out there saying, well, guys, you are gonna get so frozen, go back. Okay, and the sculpture park naming, I think, is underway.
Yeah, Parks Commission letter is the next step. So,
So the next thing is the subject of Poetry Month. And I don't know how we want to move forward about this. This was kind of Lauren's baby. She really ran it, which we can certainly, carry it. Also, I believe Tom Cooper has now retired at the library.
I think, I got an email from him, I think he's retiring in March, actually leaving, because he said something like, hey, if you're in before March, drop by and say hi.
Okay.
they've hired someone new, I've heard.
But maybe he's still in his office.
And it might be one of those transition period things where.
Yeah.
Maybe we should meet with the new person.
Yes, absolutely. Ever get an introduction from? Yeah.
So I guess the first question is that something we want to carry forward? And does anyone like sort of spearheading it?
What?
Poetry
Oh, okay.
Month.
Well, were all of the events at, I know the children's workshop was coordinated through the library last year. Was the haiku was somewhere else, or was it at the library?
Something was in the basement of the.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that. Lama Cone,
More the
and he
slam.
really liked it.
Yeah.
He said it was really great for him. I talked to him about it one day, so. I mean, I'd be glad, I worked on it with Lauren before, so I'd be glad to, work on the project.
That'd be great. Be great.
I don't know, I had nothing to do with the different programs that she set up. I just did the graphics.
I think if we could get from her contacts, like for, at least for the haiku folks, and I mean, I'm happy to, like, maybe we even divide it up, if there's 3 signature events, like. I'm happy to like talk, try to set up the children's workshop in coordination with the library if they're willing, and then maybe if you want to work on the slam or the.
Yeah.
Is that what it was
Isn't
called?
that like Dwight? Did Dwight? did it?
Dwight did that, yeah, he's done a lot of it. And then also, the Garden Cafe
Yeah.
has readings all the time.
Well, they have an open mic there too. I think the
Yeah.
singer songwriter, I always said that, but when we never went to that point, I always thought adding an event like that,
They do that frequently, so maybe there's somebody that would already sort of fit the bill that.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just like.
He puts
put
it on anyway, but put our name on it for an
Right.
event that's
That-
part of the poetry, and it's particularly singer-songwriters, just somebody that.
So that's just part of our program.
Well, at one time.
A lot of singer-songwriters.
We could say that
Yeah, it's true.
anything that happens in Webster is all part of the arts.
And Gary
That's-
across the street at the garden knows them all.
That's why he has it every, I think he
Yeah.
does it on Thursday night
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
So we could maybe add another night with him. I would be glad to talk to him
So-
about that.
Beth and John, would you be willing to touch base with Lauren and get her contact and
Sure. I mean, when,
see? I mean, it
one of
is.
us email her and then
Poetry
just
Month
copy
is
them.
April
Yeah,
as a,
Right, but I feel like it's always good, I mean, I think we should get solidified, because I think that. Problem in the past sometimes has been noticed and getting it, in front of people at the right time, so if we could start now, that'd be great. Do you want,
I
do
mean,
you already
we
in
always-
coordination with?
We always
Lauren,
have to wait for the poster to get all those events on there, and I don't think you need to do that. You get some kind of poster out and just, highlight children, haiku,
It'd be nice if it's a month, we could have like one event a week, if that would work out, shake out, so like, it'd be like just a nice spread throughout the
Yes.
entire month, and if we had 4 events, then we're.
You're golden with 4.
Yeah, but
I agree.
all on like the same day of the week, you could have like, poetry day during the month.
Yeah, if possible, the children's thing gets a little weirder
Oh,
then,
yeah.
because like, I feel like you need it kind of like on a Saturday or Sunday in
Yeah.
the morning or middle, so.
Mhm.
Um,
I did think that Dwight called most of those people for that poetry
Mhm.
slam. We can kind of put that together. So does anybody have a contact with him or know him or?
Just call them up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know if anybody had it in with him particularly, but I can call, I've met him before.
Yeah.
If he wants to do it, and I would. Bob McClellan too, and see if.
I'm happy to email Lauren and copy you and just to get the ball rolling and
great,
say you
yeah.
have your like contacts from last year and then we can start there and figure out.
Okay,
I know I have Dwight's email from the Lifetime Achievement invites, so
okay.
Good. I'm glad you, because I was, I have his email, but it's still from the Webster. Kirkland.
I think he's still cause
Oh.
that's Don Corrigan always sends me emails from.
Okay.
Don Corrigan sends 6 emails and I get a different one each time. I'm like, who is this?
I've only done.
Who am I to do?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and obviously we get the ball rolling on that. We can have a little time to get it set up and
Mhm.
and everybody can. I think in a couple of previous years, Lauren has asked for like one member of the commission to agree to be present for each event, so nobody has to be everything.
Everything, yeah.
Which is
Fair. The children's workshop, and my daughter to it last year.
I wonder if that Walter Price would be interested if there was a singer songwriter component. Being a part of it.
Okay.
Parks, did I say Price? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I knew that in Price and that always skips in.
Great, cool. Well, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you both. So the next item on here is the Lifetime Achievement in the Arts Award, and this isn't anything we're gonna really do today, but just to get it on everybody's radar that we will need to.
Didn't we just do that?
I know.
We did do that, but.
Yeah, no, it's good to,
Thinking-
yeah, absolutely.
Thinking, because, it's, there's always,
Future.
and maybe at our next meeting, we can have some suggestions.
Mhm.
Think of folks that we
Mhm.
feel like we always have a couple of names that come up every.
I think Judy had mentioned, what's the?
Yes, shoot, what's her name? Jane, Smiley,
Smiley, yeah.
Jane Smiley, yeah,
That she was contacting her or thinking about it.
which would be fantastic if she ever wanders through Webster. Give her an award. But anyway, so just something to think about there. And then just as a sort of a quick comment, does anybody else
Mhm.
have any other new business that you want to bring up? Because Alex has yet another fantastic proposal for us.
Yay.
Which I think we really, if we're gonna do this, we need to really think about, would make it happen.
Before I pitch it, my question is, do we know the origins of the design of the banners? John, is this you? I assume.
City of the Arts, yeah.
Okay, I assumed it.
Well, it was done in conjunction with the whole board. I submitted,
Mhm.
concepts and everybody sort of voted on them and homogenized it.
So just the history of that, for those who may not actually be aware of this, well, Webster was awarded the Webster Arts Council's Community
Missouri.
of the Arts, Missouri, Missouri Arts Council, Community of the Arts. Thanks to, I think, Jerry, Jennifer, and Tracy Driscoll, who put
Yeah,
that initiative, and John ran with it and created that.
Well, that was the first banner
Mhm.
that said Missouri.
Creative community.
Community.
In fact, didn't
Yeah.
they give us one?
That's right.
Yeah, they gave us like plaques that just
Yeah.
created.
And then they took
community.
our design. Missouri did and started making the plaques that went to the other cities with our design.
And
And
there's,
then the next year or so, we came up with City of the Arts.
And then it was just kind of a collective decision sitting around at a table going, city, yeah, city, yeah, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
and this is circa 2016.
No, later.
No,
I think it is around then
It was
because,
on.
yeah, I think it was maybe 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
It's somewhere around there.
Yeah,
We
somewhere
didn't
around
start
there, when the
until
banner
2000.
started. I don't think the banner's up quite, but maybe.
actually, you
the
could probably
conversation
look up when Webster got the
Right.
community award, because it would have been like that. fall.
Mhm.
And then there's also some additional street signage, because there's one by my house where it says like Missouri Missouri Arts Council, Webster
Missouri
And that's-
Creative.
Community. you
That-
know.
That's,
That was
that's
where we
when we
started.
won that award.
Yeah, how many of those street signs exist and do we know they're just two of them?
Yeah, they just send those to whoever gets it, you put it where you want.
You can put it where you want.
Does anybody, I feel like it might have just been
I'm not sure.
two that we got. And I don't know which one is by your house, but the one that they sent was like white with green printing and it just said
Yeah.
Missouri Creative Community.
That was their, I think,
This one looks like a street sign
Mhm.
and it's on like a,
Oh.
like a stop, what you put on a stop sign, and
Like no parking.
I'll take a picture of it.
You-
Yeah.
That's true.
I'll take a picture of it, but I'm wondering how many, I've only really seen one, but this is the one close
I don't
to,
think I've ever seen one.
yeah,
there's always been a
I can't
couple of these metal ones, they're about this big.
which is great.
Sent it to it like it's your award, which are made in the prisons. Missouri.
Well, street signs might be.
Serious.
The reason why I ask is just to understand, of course, the origins, understand how long
Yeah.
ago we did this,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So the thing that, and then you started talking, John, about how you had done these graphics, like, oh, right, you probably.
Well, what I'm trying to get to is the beginning of the City of the Arts was when we won that.
Yeah.
Or achieved that creative community from Missouri.
So let me launch into the proposition. So
It should be part of your presentation.
Yeah, it should be. So some of the conversations that I had, I also have graphic designer friends and one of them works for an agency that has a lot of corporate clients and things like that, as we've talked about the City of the Arts, which happened somewhere around 2016, 2017. So we're looking at, I don't know how many years that is, 20, yeah, so it's not that far removed, but the banners still are out there, they still exist. Question about, whether the city of Webster Groves does not have an official slogan and whether that slogan should be City of the Arts, right? Something we discussed here. I started talking about this with a friend of mine who is, like I said, works for a graphic design and ad agency and said, is that what you want to be? Meaning, where does that stem from? What are the values and reasons behind it? And basically what he's talking about is going through strategic thinking sessions with stakeholders about that type of language or language that is similar to it. And then how you, in a sense, start to achieve the brand and the identity that represents the city and the values and all these other types of things. So one way that you could go is that you already have those banners out here and they just need to be fully recognized and more fully illuminated. You need more of them. You need to put it on everything that the city collateral does because you already have it going. You already have the design, et cetera. The other way is to say, this is what we have been, whether people officially recognize it or not, it's down the streets, et cetera. Do we want to go into strategic design thinking sessions in which you start with maybe the City of the Arts circa 2017 and maybe end with the City of Arts and Culture and blah, 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 blah. You end somewhere else and you end up with not only a messaging, but an identity, but also some type of graphic logo that goes against the Webster Groves logo.
Well, I don't mind jumping in. How I would see it is the banner is just something that emphasizes what we are. So I would think the City of the Arts goes under the Webster Groves logo, just as a simple,
Line.
a line. And then you can go out and have a City of the Arts festival and turn it over to a graphic designer and let them go crazy, like the jazz festival. And so that City of the Art Festival does these things. But when you get down to it, it's Webster Groves, our identity, our brand, City of the Arts. It's not City of the Arts, Webster Groves, it's the other way, because I mean, who was it that checked us on or looked up Webster Grove? Was that you that had somebody came across and it was, they put in Webster Grove, what's it known for?
Yeah, that was in me, but I can't remember.
And it came out, but I think it was Dave, but
Mhm.
so he went to check Kirkwood and it was this.
Yeah.
And he checked Brentwood and it was this. And then he put in Webster and it was
All
home
the
of the
artists.
arts and it listed you know, the things that we have. And so a city of our size to have this spectacular of an arts thing,
My only thought,
I think people think that's
Well,
about.
just using a logo with Webster City of the Arts places, I mean, PR wise, when people are looking things up, we become important. That we've already done it and we have all this to offer. I mean, that's more than some other places, like even the city of New York. That we have everything here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The question is whether or not you really run with that identity that's in a sense been mismatched or put together, not in a strategic design way, but in a kind of like, okay, let's put this up and do it. And what do we want the residents to be involved in? What do we want the council to be involved in the process? So that's.
Well, I think it would be a council thing, right? To officially bring in the city would be more of a council decision versus our decision. I mean, we're obviously invested in the arts and we see this. I will say that some people, when I saw the banners, I heard like City of the Arts, what's that about? Like, not everyone else sees the arts
Right.
as much as we do. They might say like, you know, I mean, I love the arts in Webster, but when I think of Webster, I also think of just like the value system and the community and the like graciousness. So I don't know, like, for us to claim that without other people weighing in on this is how we see the city. I think it would be a larger council issue to officially brand the city with a tagline versus us just kind of like, I mean, certainly we could propose it, but.
my thought is that I really love the way this has just happened kind of organically. And then the posters, I mean, the signs, and it kind of grew, and it's not, we're not proclaiming anything. We are simply quietly stating what we
Under the
are.
radar.
My fear is, and maybe this comes from having been traumatized by years of spending hours in rooms with marketing people and branding folks. And, you know, I think it's harmed me in some ways, but like my only thought, and I could probably be talked off the ledge, you know, regarding this, is that once you start bringing in politicians and marketing folks and we start analyzing it and doing branding strategies and all of that, we suck the soul right out of it. That's my fear. And maybe it's unjustified. And then you get people, you know, from the back row going, what about Webster Grove's the city of diversity and equality and fair housing values, you know, and then somebody else that everybody's with a Webster art is this and that. And all of a sudden, this kind of thing that we just kind of slipped over the border and you know, have made is all of a sudden under the microscope, and you know, people are throwing rocks at it and it's a big deal. And a bunch of people who've never had anything to do with it in the first place are overthinking it.
Right.
But again, I could be totally and would love to be talked off the ledge.
I like the idea of having an official slogan for the city, like, because we don't have one yet. There's no
Well, I
official.
thought we did something with the council a while back, presenting City of the Arts, and it was,
When the banners went, we had this kind of talk.
no, I think after the banners.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no
I just-
official, like when I came and started and like put together a communications plan and everything, I looked around and some people are like, yeah, isn't it that we're a great place to live, work and play? And I'm like, well, that's like 87 cities
Right.
within, you know, the bi-state area say that, you know. So I looked around and like Brentwood is city of warmth. Shrewsbury, it's home. Like that's Shrewsbury.
I know, that's so sad.
It's home.
The worst ever was Jerseyville, Illinois. I had
Yeah.
some friends there, and one of them was on the committee that they did exactly this. And they finally, by committee, of course, because
Yeah.
committees come up with such wonderful things, came up with close to the crowd, but not in it.
Like, I think you still remember it all.
I'll never forget it.
Olivet is live in the center of it, because
yeah.
live is actually in the center of Olivet, which is kind of like, well, that's kind of fun, but
Like he art.
there, yeah, and Kirkwood, I think, is the green tree city.
Well, when I heard it was Tree City USA, remember that?
Yeah.
Because it was a big deal. that they
Yeah,
were Tree City
well, and we're
USA.
still
yeah.
a tree city, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that was just like another
nothing
park
now, right.
designation. It was just like.
But
we
we're
got
no
stamped
longer
Tree
just
City.
queen of the suburbs.
No,
Queen of the Suburbs, that is actually the official or semi-official Webster
Semi-
Grove's
Right. It's
historical.
time for a change.
which, and that was like from when it became like.
That was for real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
queen of the
That's
suburbs.
the, that's right. Yeah, so we have.
You actually already have it. I don't know how official it is. but
Yeah,
Let me tell Patrick down off the ledge though.
yeah.
Okay, me too. I don't like it up here.
I think the alignment comes in is that we have Jenny here who's spearheading the communications as the liaison to this commission.
Mhm.
Right? And the strategic aspect of it is that the more stakeholders and the more buy-in that you have, the more official that it becomes, right? So though I think it is good that it's grassroots, is if you have the brand and everybody's accepted the brand and you got to the final point, the democratic process involved, the surveying and all this other stuff, you're just soaking it in like a sponge. That doesn't mean that it has to execute out. So I think that's just part of the democratic process. That's just part of the strategic thinking. At the end of the day, you have not only this committee in the room, you have Jenny, who's a communications expert, but then you also have an agency or a design firm person that's looking at it and understands how to navigate through all of that. So
Can I also play devil's advocate with the budget? How are we going to pay for a design or branding situation?
this is what I had said to Jenny and Kathy is that, I said, all this sounds good. His name's Ryan. I said, you'll do this in kind for us. Right. So the thing that I don't know is the degree of which there's bidding processes
Yeah,
and what is in kind, what is not.
And I-
Obviously, you've already done this
Yeah.
for the city once.
and I think,
No, I didn't, all I did was the banner. That was my
Yeah.
whole thing before when this came up. Oh, that was when we first did the banner. Oh, this is great. We
Banner
should
and
this and
t-shirts.
this.
I've
Can we
seen
do this as a logo? And I said, t-shirt. That's not a logo, you know, it's
Yeah.
not like
No.
Coca-Cola buys, comes up with an orange drink and then they're gonna go, the orange drink company. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and I
a
will say that
slogan and then you can take that slogan out of there, I think,
Yeah.
in my humble opinion, for promotional stuff. But it still stays, it's sort of like, trying to think, I think what happens is some of these things happen and somebody over here sees it and they say, oh man, we could go with this. This is so cool. We're gonna make a logo and a whole concept and blah, blah, blah. And you don't really need it because it's Webster Groves. And all we're saying is this describes our city, but it's still Webster Groves. That's why I wouldn't think of it as a logo or anything other than that line.
You say just Webster Groves, so we're talking about New York City and all these other cities. It can be more, and it should be more because of the representation that we have in terms of the arts organizations and the arts power. So we have to be aligned with the similar type of cities that are just beyond the quote unquote just Webster Groves, because we're not just Webster Groves. We are that.
I could see it as a useful tool if we're competing for something, with other cities to bring it in. Like
Exactly.
we already have a Jazz Fest, but if we were competing with something and we were labeled the city of the arts, that would be an advantage because it would show that
Well, then you would move that forward,
yeah. But
go after that.
there's also the danger that by going through all of this and we are officially proclaimed the city of the arts, that we've actually fooled ourselves into thinking we've accomplished something because we're already the city of the arts. I mean, we shouldn't think that really officially makes us a city of the arts because that's bad thinking. But again, I mean, I'm okay. Yeah, sure. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
All this thinking that you're doing right now, there was a 4-page article in, I think, the Post-Dispatch in 1992. Everything. I almost threw it out because I got rid of all my files. It's everything you're talking about. And it listed, isn't that a riot, 92? And they were already doing
I
this kind
remember
of,
it well.
what?
They were me.
Well, it's just, the history repeats itself. And it's really funny that here this was, all this information was done. They even listed, everything that Webster does have that was in 92.
Look, cities are already brands, right?
Yeah.
They're already brands. They already have brands and associations attached to them, Brentwood, Shrewsbury's, et cetera. Whether you have the slogan behind them or if people know them or not, that's another thing. But they already have brands. I don't know what ours is.
Mhm.
I don't really know what people outside of Webster or even inside really understand and think of it, right? I don't know if it's Queen of the Suburbs. I don't know if it's the city.
I've heard things.
Do we actually know? And maybe we do, maybe we don't, but it'd be nice to see some data on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was-
From a communication strategy, I don't know.
Unofficially, it's funny, there's an Instagram account, I don't know if anybody has seen that,
Yeah.
it's called St. Louis Starter Packs.
Mhm.
And it's like all like, like St. Peter's mom, soccer, it's like all of these things that are. And for the Webster Groves starter pack, it was like a Subaru, and like there was the Gorlek,
No.
and like, just like, it was all like bike, not drive, and like all, like all of those kind of granola.
I was just
Subaru
gonna say
kind of-
granola is the word.
Yeah.
we're constantly talking about.
Yeah.
Surprises me, but yes, my
Yeah.
friends say that too, like,
Yeah,
I-
oh, it's-
yeah.
Well, right now.
First head shop,
actually,
first head shop in St. Louis.
I would think you might be knowing it as the city of restaurants or the city of coffee houses. We got 2 more coffee houses.
Oh,
Yeah.
Basically, you're gonna open.
But that's what we don't want to open. We don't want to open up a debate where
Right.
like the coffee house
Competing
lobby.
for-
I do
Yeah.
think that you would get a debate if you try to open this up and make it official, because I think that we think we're the city of the arts, but I think if you went wider to just everyday people who aren't as invested in the arts, they're not going to necessarily feel as aligned with that.
But everybody at this table, all of our friends are artists. That's the problem.
Let's just ask them.
The true, isn't it?
Jenny, the city has just been through that whole, like, we all had to get online and fill out the surveys about.
Strategic planning
Strategic
survey,
planning
yeah.
survey. Do we know, I mean, have we heard what resulted from any of that? Did anybody besides us say the arts?
And it's like the arts did, I looked at the full results, I kind of
There were
skimmed them all,
6
and I
people who
mean.
said the arts.
They were all over the place. Like there were some people that there was some of the arts and like, well, aren't we already the city of the arts? Like, where, and then there was the people like that just don't think any of that matters. Like visions are stupid. Like they're just in a binder and somebody's
Well,
desk.
we just
and
totally
then-
bypass the city and have Webster Arts to develop a campaign where we're the city of the arts.
Yeah.
Because we have to have the city to put up city street signs.
And put it on the stationery.
And put it on the stationery.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing though. I think that there's the way where you could do the whole big, huge rebrand and it's in the logo and it's in everything like that. And it's a huge big, or it could be the slogan. Cause it's like when you look at Brentwood, like it might be on their newsletter, City of Warmth, but it's not on their stationery and it's not on their business cards. Because I know rebrandings scare people here. Because when I started, I couldn't find the exact color of the logo. I couldn't find, like, do we have an official font? Like, do we not have an official font? Do we have sub colors? Because we were doing the website refresh to make it more mobile. And they're like, okay, we know your main color. What are your sub colors? And I was like, well, that is,
There.
I don't have any. So,
It's green.
yeah.
So it's the green.
And then some
That's
were like, is it Kelly Green or is it Forest Green? It's like, so the agency that have been doing stuff
A
for us.
Pantone number.
Yeah, like
Right,
that's,
okay.
I'm like, I don't have a Pantone number, I don't have any of it. And so, yeah.
City, yeah.
and so this graphic designer pulled together a branding style guide, essentially is what it was. It was just a 1 sheet of paper with, here's your colors in CMYK, Pantone, everything. Here's your official font, here's your sub font, here's your fancy font, here it all is, run with it. And it only costs like $5,000. Like I had a $40,000 budget from like an old newsletter and I did like $5,000 for all this research and to get it all done and to purchase the fonts that we could give to everybody and to create some templates. Like they created a whole bunch of templates. And like people were like so angry. They're like, how dare you spend, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on a rebranding? And why didn't you even ask our opinion? It's like, it's not, I changed nothing. Like it's the same logo. I'm not, because people are like, don't get rid of the swirly because we love the swirly. And I'm like, I'm not getting rid of the swirly. Like I don't have the money to get rid of the swirly. I just want to find out what color is the swirly.
My son put this other part in it in 96.
Oh, okay, because I was like, people love the swirly. I'm like, I'm not getting rid of the swirly. The
Yeah.
swirly remains.
He
But
added
this is,
Yeah.
this is exactly what we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
actually brand consistency.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have brand inconsistency, then you have, it's
Yeah.
trash, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So you have to have brand consistency, both in color, font, et cetera, and in messaging. Otherwise, you have inconsistency and then you have.
Creative input and creative control is really important in something like this. And I hearken back to an example where we got some guidance from the city council a few years ago, as to, let's do murals, and we had some good support, and it looks like we're gonna get some money. And we're all excited about murals, and we're seeing all, remember, you know, we had some great ideas, and we're looking at other cities and really creative stuff. And what the city council really wanted to do was a bunch of howdy neighbor, kind of like really corny stuff, and we just kind of quietly said thank you, but like took it off the agenda. And what I'm afraid of is, like, some city council members are gonna get together and go, see, I got a great logo for City of the Arts. It's round and it has 2 paintbrushes, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just like awful. And I like what you're saying. How about just the City of the Arts, and like just keep that
Just
as like a
very
whisper,
quiet.
the City of the Arts, you
It's a
know?
nickname.
But again, I mean, if we can be convinced that like people who have a real sense of creativity are gonna be the engine behind this, and it's gonna be good, but if it's mediocre or average or looks kind of like,
You know,
then you're right, then it's also trash, you know, I mean, even if it's consistent.
but everything in design gets dated. You know, so
Quickly.
what I'm saying is you put in something like we're the city of the arts, you know, that's sort of, can be chiseled in stone.
Except for
It's
Florida,
not.
it's all the way from John Hancock to West.
See, and
Monroe,
okay,
you
so
know?
I was told, and now I'm really, so you and your son did the logo? Someone told me it was the same person who invented Spuds McKenzie. And I'm assuming that's not you.
Upside down.
Because remember at one time, the sign for Webster Groves, it was the 2 faces. The faces became, they were trees.
Oh, my.
Well, that was
Yeah.
another one of my designs.
Okay.
And that was way back before John was involved with everything. That I got stuck with also.
I actually competed for this logo. They had a thing.
Yeah.
And,
Maybe. so the person who
But you
invented
had your
Spuds McKenzie.
City of the Arts. Boy, it's a small world.
I
here.
just mean, and everything gets dated, you know, some things will last a very long time,
Yeah.
you know. You're not gonna, unless you'd see the 1920s Coca-Cola and 2020 Coca-Cola, you're never gonna notice any difference. And
It's
I
only a
think
matter
our
of
logo is
time.
sort of like that now. It's sort
There's
of a-
subtleties that you can change to update it, like even the font, make it a little different, more modern.
But I'm not saying
Somebody
change
wants-
anything, but I'm saying this would last a
Correct.
long time,
Yeah.
right? But everything, when you have that City of the Arts, that's what I mean, if you let that be a promotional thing, that you can just do whatever you want to now. This is the arts, it's the digital arts, and it's this, and that, you know, it could be a whole nother thing, applied arts, you know, you can go on with art for, you know, architecture, we've never done much of that.
Yeah.
What was Dave
Culinary
up to with this, what, Heart of the City and making that logo?
Oh,
What
that's
is-
his new, another new Dave Buck program, where it's gonna be an art show, volunteer art show,
Oh, yeah.
like his volunteer Webster Sings. That's what he's going for.
Well, and I think if we did even, like, if it was an official slogan and like we got the council and they voted on it, like. There was something I saw that, and I'm just gonna pass on my phone, but Edwardsville did new street banners and they're thank you banners where they picked like
Right.
first responders and teachers in the
Oh, that's-
community. But it's like, there'd be a cool thing, like if we did like City of the Arts and like highlighted
Different
the
people.
different people and different organizations even from around. I think that could be
That's
fun.
nice.
Like, I think
Art-
that's kind of a fun branding
Art
thing.
is
where
art
it's like-
organization. Well, you've got the rep.
I was just,
Then-
do we have an inventory
Mhm.
of all the art things? Can I get a hold of that?
It's on the website. It's,
Okay,
yeah,
where do I-
I'll send you the link.
Yeah, would
Yeah.
you send me the link because I feel a
And
little
Even
inadequate.
made a little pamphlet at one time.
Yeah.
It listed
it's worth
everything.
Reading, because
Yeah.
as John says, like, things change, and so we could probably stand to update.
I was
Mhm.
thinking
Things may
updating
have-
that would
Yeah.
probably be a good idea.
If we've got a dozen arts organizations in this town, and we have at least that many.
Yeah.
Then that is kind of powerful, because you're
Mhm.
not just saying city of the arts, but you're showing that it's
Yeah.
the city of the arts. It's like, don't believe me? Well, here's a picture of a
Yeah.
violinist at the conservatory or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Violence, the conservative community
Community
music
music
school.
Opera theater, you know,
Yeah.
they come from all over the world.
The rep.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you could go head to head with Maplewood. They have a lot of art things and a lot of artists live there and facilities for them.
But we don't even have to go head to head, the more the merrier, it's all about.
I'm saying, but I'm saying you can't, they don't fly in from Germany to hear the, Maplewood Opera Theater. I mean, we
They're
have.
Maplewood Opera Theater.
No, we have all that, and I think that's what.
I'll start one. Finally, I get a singing role. No one wants that to happen, but.
City of the arts in English. Yeah.
Well, we could put it in different languages.
Yes, that would be nice.
If anybody knows other languages, I don't.
I know. Kunststadt.
There we go.
Bobble Babblefish.
Kunststadt. Der Kunst.
So where does that leave us? Like we were sort of not, and now all of a sudden we sort of are.
Well, and I
It's a
think it's
great
one of those things, it's like, I think there's different levels. It's like, do we full scale do it with like rebranding, which is like the top tier kind of thing with the strategic planning and, or do we have them just at least officially declare our slogan is city, they'd like put together a proposal for that and try to get that. And I think Dave Buck would be on board with that. Or do we exist as we are with that just as kind of our
But
unofficial?
doesn't the council have to take care of that?
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, that's.
We could propose it
We
to
have
them and they would have to
I
vote.
think we proposed it before a council meeting, but I don't think anything ever really officially came of it.
Yeah,
Well, some of
Didn't the mayor at one time proclaim
Yeah,
Webster the city when we won that award?
it might have been like a day, like a proclamation day.
Yeah, or something, but it was.
but then I
it
think
was in the paper.
also that it was proclaimed as this, and that was at the council. So you might look in the minutes and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
perhaps we already have the official selection.
I know.
And if that's the case, move forward with that.
Yeah, I'll just add it to the website. I can do that. Nobody else does.
But I think the real value of this is bringing up this, and it's so well thought, and there's so many good ideas, and there's so much good stuff in there. That I think just opening up a conversation like we've had today is really valuable, and we don't have to decide today, but it's got me thinking, and maybe.
I do think the sell is from the degree of economic development. All right, we talked about this competition, the city is a brand. I mean, all cities are competing with each other, whether we say so or not, whether for residents, whether for tourism dollars, restaurants, et cetera. Arts brings people to the city, it gets them to eat in the restaurants, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I think the economic development piece has a lot of strength.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know what the economic development of each organization is, so you can actually put millions of dollars into it.
Jerry's been working on that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know those numbers.
Is she doing that for arts?
It's just like,
commission?
there is a feel for the
Art
people who
foundation,
live in Webster as opposed to
Actually, she
Kirkwood.
was doing
Yeah.
this.
We have more of a comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with where we live. We don't have big houses. We're just a nice middle class.
Well, the houses are
Safe.
getting bigger.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we're the middle class of the world. And we're safe
Yeah.
at the
I
moment.
mean, Regional Arts Commission already maybe has some of this language in terms of
Yeah.
understanding what, like each opera theater, et cetera, probably has. Where you can start adding up how much millions of dollars is in here and how much these organizations are bringing in for the city. And there's indirect dollars, again, through the restaurants. So you go to see a show, you're going to the restaurant. and
Oh, that's huge.
That's been done.
One of the biggest beneficiaries of the arts is Schnorr's Hardware.
Sure.
Yeah, quickly going out, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I need some more stuff fitting myself.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
a
yeah.
little more spray paint.
I think, again, just the conversation is where it's really standing in terms of like this designer in kind and things like that. I mean, no need to move on that. The conversation about the slogan, what the facts of what it really already is, what it might already be.
Yeah, and I can check with Laura and see if they're doing any additional like strategic planning surveys, because maybe they'd be willing to add on a question with.
Yeah.
Do you think the city of Webster Groves needs a slogan?
Yeah.
Do you think it should be Queen of the Suburbs, City of the Arts? Like,
Some of them
Yeah.
we have been
Like,
really big houses.
hey, you're here, like, I don't know, like some of those slogans are just like, you are here.
Yeah.
This is where you live, like, it's just, I don't know, there's some of them are so bad.
See it in neon on
Oh,
the building.
Just as a side question, I do know that the street banners are a nightmare because every third pole is owned by a different agency and there's a lot.
There was some, yeah, a school district just emailed me to ask, they were like, we want to replace some of our street banners. And I was like, well, that should be easy enough. Let me check with Public Works, and Public Works was like, these are owned by Ameren. These are owned by us. These are owned by this. And the sizes of them are different and there's different. And I'm like, okay, it's not as easy as I thought. Sorry about that. What?
Does the city get revenue for its polls?
No, I think I think it's their pole.
Yeah, like for our like decorative ones, we don't charge
Oh, I
people to
see.
put up the banners. They just have to pay for the banners. Like if the school district wants banners on the lights by Hickson, that's fine. They have to order them and pay for them.
Because I am pretty sure that it's still City of the Arts down Rock
Mhm.
Hill. And they've now been up for,
Yeah, they're fading. The
7
color is
years.
almost gone. I mean,
Yeah.
the font still holds, but the color is gone.
if we could figure out how to come up with something. Even like not going all the way to rebranding, but just like putting the City of the Arts smaller at the top and then doing
Highlighting organizations
pictures
and stuff. Yeah.
and just. I don't know, 20.
That's pretty
around.
powerful when you actually see evidence, a big mural somewhere
A
that
big-
Maryland can do, showing all these different art forms with just City of the Arts over it.
Oh, gosh. Well, you even had a committee on the council with, oh, I can't remember her name, that wanted to do this mural.
Mhm.
And we had a committee for that.
Oh, okay.
And nothing ever came of it because we found out, first of all, we can't do it in a lot of the buildings because they're private buildings. and
Yeah.
They don't want us to do anything. So there was very few places that were even available. And it just went on and on that it became just too much.
Yeah,
Well,
It would almost have to be a private person that wanted something on their wall.
yeah. Like big angel wings. Like I feel like that's everywhere. Every city
I
needs
know,
a
so you
giant
can
pair of
stand
angel
in
wings.
front
You
of
can
it.
stand in front of it, get your Instagram.
bat wings.
Or that, that would be different.
That could be great, or they could be absolutely.
Devil
Now we've got places that are called City of the Murals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We don't have to do that. We
Yeah.
don't have to proclaim ourselves.
Right.
I mean, I'd also advocate that, and Patrick, you might have resistance from what I'm about to say, but the degree in which the Arts Commission is a brand versus Webster Groves as a city is a brand. And as I think since this is an art commission as part of Webster Groves, that Webster Groves should receive the branding identity credit. Right, that more and more, I think it would be better for the city and for this commission that we not necessarily disappear, but that those brands become the same.
Yeah.
That City of the Arts is a result of the Arts Commission, which is a city.
So why do you think I would be opposed to that?
I don't know.
Just because I'm kind of been generating a lot of negative.
Right now.
we have a list of them. We don't have. logos.
Yes.
I mean, I was just saying that. I don't
Commission
think
does
that
have a brand.
people really see the Arts Commission as a brand. I think they see it as the city did something. Like when they see the banners, I don't think they're like, oh, that, you know, like, I don't think the general public thinks that that was the Arts Commission. I think they think the city put up banners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the general public knows we exist either. Like whenever I say I'm on Arts Commission, like we have one of those, like nobody.
Yeah,
Guys
ones that are
here.
supposed to be advising the city.
Yeah, well. I
It's
think
part of the
we advise
city.
them.
And I think
Part of the
our
city.
job is to kind of enforce that City of the Arts, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
Like
Now
the Poetry Week, for instance, you know, who else is gonna do that? There's no poetry group, you know, that's
for
gonna
sure.
headline that, so.
Yeah, I think we have a responsibility, but I don't think like the general public sees us as something separate than the city.
No, we're like.
Yeah,
the
we're part of the city
parks, we're like the
operation,
parks,
right?
We're like every other.
And officially, we're the body that approves statues.
Mhm.
Actually, we don't even approve them. I think we propose them.
Yeah.
You recommend that.
Someone else approves.
I think council still has.
We hear about the statue and then we tell the
Yeah,
people
you're
to
right.
make the decision about the statue.
We propose and advise.
Yeah.
They do the
And
ordinance
that's our only
and the
power.
statute.
We have practically no money, so we can't do anything. And anything we can do, we do among ourselves.
What do we have?
So
We've got
it's-
gumption.
You know, it's not hard squad.
We have a hell of a good time, don't we?
But that no money
There's our
is-
slogan right
It's
there.
really a
City of
social
Gumption,
work.
Mark had a hell of a good time.
Yeah. I love it.
Furthermore, I mean, this idea, this no resources money thing, which I think should change, but that further corrects that problem. Right, because we are the city. We're not a separate entity. We work for and recommend for and our service to the city, therefore more resources dedicated to it increases the economic development and the blah, 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 blah. So it's all part of the same machine.
No, in fact, we were just in Asheville last week and they had a
Sounded
poster
interesting
up
too.
somewhere where we were, and I wish I had taken a picture of it, and it was one of these pictorial representation infographic of the impact of the arts in Asheville and the surrounding county. And it was, it was all happy little pictures.
We were in Dennyville recently.
It was really.
And it's the same thing. I mean, everywhere you go, and it's just really subtle.
Mhm.
You go down an alley and there's a little neon piece of installation artwork there. I mean, it's just everywhere. And they are real, of course, they get as much money as they want from the Waltons.
Yeah.
But
We need some Waltons here.
not John Boyd.
How do we get a wall?
Yeah, how do we get a Walton extra gross?
Might have more than you know.
Mhm.
And that's the really tempting part of like, how do you.
Both private and public, right? I mean, that's the key is tapping into it.
But I mean, I think from this conversation, I think we should like move ahead and continue to explore and refine and like, where do we agree? What should we, I mean, these are such good ideas that we don't want to just have a big conversation and then plop there.
Well, I feel like certainly the idea of maybe replacing a couple of banners. I mean, I don't know, I don't even know where to start that project, but I feel like if nothing else, just to refresh the,
The city of the arts.
what we already
Yeah.
have that says this.
Is there a way to put our toe in the water and somehow test how people outside this room feel about the city of the arts as an identifier or as a brand? Is there any
I
way
would
to
love to
test
know what
that?
the results were of the surveys.
Survey, yeah, I know that
did.
they came through, it was, it was all over the place, it was,
I mean, as it would be.
as it
but
would be, yeah.
Just, it would just be, I mean, that's kind of.
It does make me laugh though that it's like, we do these surveys about, of course, it's like 200 people like fills it out and then the pool, it's like 1,000 people. Like, so like people are like, they have a lot of opinions about the pool, not so much about anything else.
And then from out of nowhere, the anti-art faction. of-
Yeah.
Aren't we about like?
I imagine all the
3,000?
real estate
Yeah, I
companies
mean-
trying to sell in here have some kind of a promotion of trying to tell them about Webster. And we should see what they're,
What real, yeah,
Well, they come to the city probably and take
Well,
stuff off the
yeah.
website and.
Oh, well,
what
no,
we
they must
present.
have some special.
Where they're selling great schools, great resale value.
great schools, historic homes,
So that's where we come
Walkability.
from.
yeah. Close to the city, not.
So there's a reason for people living in Webster.
Close to everything, but
Mhm.
nowhere.
Not
What was that?
Close to the crowd, but not.
There we go.
Queen of the arts, perhaps.
Do we want to be a queen?
Do we want to be a queen? I think there's a lot of connotations to it. You can go-
Queen of the suburbs, Duchess of the arts.
You're the arts, but you don't get paint on your fingers. That would be.
Let your clothes stay clean. Okay, so it is 9:30.
Okay.
And I think this is a great conversation. I definitely think we need to consider it. And Alex, thank you again.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
for spearheading this for us, because I feel like there's a lot that we can do.
I just wanted to admit, I was just thinking while we were all talking, I just want to put this out, maybe we could think about it. And come up with some stuff for the next meeting, but with this arts thing, what if could we get all these restaurants and have, the culinary arts somehow? Where they could have, go someplace and they all have like I'm just brainstorming,
Tasting.
like a magic chef.
Taste of Webster.
Iron Chef or something
Love
where
that idea.
between these restaurants, because all we have is chili cook-off.
The only
You
problem
know,
is you've got those two different districts.
And
they don't go together all the time. I don't know if times have changed, but at one time they couldn't talk to each other. Because we've got this whole community now with all the restaurants. And we have, it's just like we have all nations.
But they're both in the city, so we could use it as a city.
Like a Webster restaurant. something like
Yeah.
that, like. to
Business
promote,
Development
yeah.
Commission might
You
be,
mean like a punch
It would be
card?
wonderful if you
Like
could
that.
have
Yeah, that'd be
a
great.
month of restaurants
yeah,
and just list all the restaurants that are in
Maybe
Webster.
like specials and stuff, like, yeah.
And by maybe even what, a certain percentage off if you go eat, or some of that money goes to a common
yeah. There's
nonprofit.
always that like Riverwood Times always does like Burger Week where every restaurant
Yeah.
makes
but
a
I'm saying
special
take
burger
it-
that's like $5.
Take it up a notch to that culinary arts.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you
yeah, I
know,
mean,
you
that is
you have to go to these,
where we get pressed for now.
you have to go
is
to
all
4
the-
of these 6 restaurants. And then you can vote on our website, something, you know, I don't know, but you know what I mean, like say. You'd name 3 down there and 3 down on there, but you gotta go to 4 of them to get involved with the person, you know, you and me.
I think what you're bringing up is part of a bigger thing as well as what is our relationship with those entities that we brag about.
Mhm.
You know, how do we connect with all the people that we're saying, come here because these wonderful people, we don't talk to them, but they're here.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful.
And they're wonderful, we think.
And our
So I
new-
mean, and what you're saying about with the restaurant, that kind of feels like, how do we liaise with opera theater? How
Yeah.
do we liaise with
Right.
any of these entities that are, you know, and I'm wondering if strategically it would make some sense to start thinking about each one of us takes a couple of places and just makes a time, makes a place, or we invite them to come to a, you know, something, but I feel like you're making a really great thing about you know.
Well, it's, we need
Well,
them
I
a little
mean-
bit more than they need us in some cases, like an
It's
Olive and Oak is like not, you know,
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
booked out, you know, they're
Yeah,
like,
right.
okay, I don't necessarily need your promotion, whereas the city would love to
Exactly.
be like, oh, look at all these places we have, and while they think that might be nice to work with us, they also don't need it at this point.
Right.
So
So
how do we make those inroads?
yeah, or just as we're friendly and we're here together, you
Yeah,
know, I mean,
right.
just things
We're
like
here to
that.
work and
Yeah,
help you.
But that's an interesting thing that you said, but then you have to wonder that they own like 3 restaurant facilities on one street. So there's a reason why I don't know that they could or would do that in Chesterfield. How would you do that? You know, only Webster allows them to have that, have a progressive dinner with our, you know, have a drink here and an hors d'oeuvre here and a meal there. You know, I mean, they could do that. But we could do that with, you know, compatible restaurants, have a progressive dinner. You get your drink, your appetizer, and then your entree, and you pick, you know, the places. I know there's no group for that. Like somebody said, they're 2 separate entities. So these restaurants are in this chamber and these restaurants are in this chamber.
I didn't realize.
But with our-
They haven't been
Well, there is the
combined.
Business Development
Yeah.
Commission that kind of oversees all of those, like Old Orchard and Old Webster and Crossroads.
But our
They have
divisions-
never gotten together. And it would be nice if there was just one. So that they combined all their promotions together and
Yeah.
help each other.
Yeah.
But instead, Old Webster and
I had no
Old
idea.
Orchard
Yeah.
have always been competing against each
Yeah,
other.
it's very strange.
And it's
Yeah.
just, it doesn't help the others.
It probably goes back to where most of their customers were coming from Webster. Now they come from
Everywhere.
all over with, you know, we have a lot of destination restaurants, I think, at this
Mhm.
point.
It's back to feudal days, actually.
Feudals?
Feudal. Nothing's kind of
Feudal now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Feudal to feudal.
I misunderstood it.
Right.
That's a good line.
All right. Much to think about.
Yeah.
Webster grows from feudal. to
I have
feudal.
February 7th as the next,
Yes.
the first Tuesday of February, so if that works for
Yes.
folks.
We'll be back upstairs. so
Yes, we will. It's our normal day, so we'll
When
be
is
back
the date?
upstairs, February 7th.
February 7th.
8:30.
Yep.
And, we can.
And we can continue to
Spread
chat
out.
about slogan rebranding and. Yeah. We'll have more info probably.
I think I'll bring you the 1992 article on Western Grove.
Oh, I'm pleased.
I won't throw it away.
It's marvelous that you.
It's a reason it's kept it this long, so.
See a microfilm on
Have you
microfilm?
gone through your files from all the way back when we used to have more? Well, I'm starting to pitch.
Oh,
I had 4 file cabinets.
What's your audience?
Hmm?
Some of it's your artwork, I do all your artwork.
No, not the artwork. This is almost
Well,
all.
I guess shall we adjourn?
You're adjourned. I'm
Some of
sorry.
it is.
Implied that we did not directly.